नेट लेके पीछे
हाँ दिया बाकी पूरे इधर ये निकलो
Yes.
हीरा सच में नूब है हाँ हीरा न्यू अकाउंट है क्या तेरा आवाज नहीं आ रही तेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही
भाई वो अच्छी वाली स्किन किसके पास है?
आ रही है हेलो
हाँ अभी आ रही न्यू अकाउंट है तेरा
बॉट कहाँ जा गया अब कौन गया बैठ जो
This area.
अबे ग्रीन क्या कर रहा
कवर दे
पर्पल का वर्ड पर्पल
निकल भी निकल जल्दी Six.
चल चल नेक्स्ट कोई नहीं लास्ट ही को
देख लिया हीरा न्यू अकाउंट है तेरा रैंक क्या है हीरा रैंक
का जो 2 मिनट में नहीं आया ना तो एक बार टाइम आउट लेना अब यार फिर आएंगे
बनाना चलो मिड पे कोई भी मत रुको
नहीं ये चलो एक बनाना होल्ड करो बाकी ये
हीरा रैंक बोल रहे
Throw in smoke. I am throwing smoke. Grenade out!
He's phone
पर्पल पे प्लांट दे पर्पल
I am throwing smoke.
पर्पल प्लांट टोनी प्लांट दे मैंने थोड़ा 901
I am planting the bomb.
अरे इधर है 80 के पीछे आ रहा है बॉयलर गया
हीरा तेरे आगे
बॉयलर तेरे आगे कीड़ा भाग गया लगता।
कीड़ा साइड पे, कीड़ा साइड पे। लग जा फिर लग।
भागो भागो भागो।
मर जाता है कीड़ा उधर।
हेमंत
कॉर्नर कॉर्नर एकदम कॉर्नर है 901 एकदम कॉर्नर।
It's going to explode.
कीड़ा भाग गए।
सामने कीड़ा सामने। अबे क्या है यार मिला गन निकाल के भागो।
मैं बोल रहा था कीड़ा का रैंक।
Yes!
दे ऑफ 90।
कीड़ा का रैंक नहीं है।
कीड़ा नया प्लेयर है, अभी ज्वाइन करा।
Move, my
ऑफ
friend.
दे। अरे 901 ऑफ दे। सेक्शन
सेक्शन बॉल
I am throwing a flashbang.
पे के मिड में ऑफिस उठा।
I am throwing a grenade.
अरे ऑफ दे।
किसको चाहिए?
प्लान कर इधर आ। इधर ऑफ है।
इधर भाई
इधर रुक अभी नहीं। हाँ अभी इधर दे मेरे को। इधर पीछे हाँ सामने हाँ दे।
कीड़ा शॉटगन से खेल।
Let's go.
हेमंत शॉटगन से या एसएमजी से।
कीड़ा एसएमजी से खेल या शॉटगन से खेल, शॉट नहीं आता।
Throwing fire. Smoke.
एक पे प्लांट देता है।
प्लान
ऑरेंज प्लांट।
I am setting the bomb. Bomb has been planted. We are going to do this. Forward. Fire. Grenade.
रंबा आराम से।
Smoke. Throwing a flashbang.
बॉम्बर गोए
Throwing a
बॉम्बर गोए।
smoke. I am throwing a grenade. I am throwing a flashbang.
गोए फास्ट।
68
Planting.
बॉम्ब किसे
I am throwing a flashbang. Fear like fire.
बिया
Planting.
गो रन 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 होल्ड कर खा इधर पोज बता फाइलर ओके ओके
Be safe, my friends. Throwing fire.
Clear by us.
I am planting the bomb. I am throwing smoke.
कमिंग सीट
Fire. Grenade. Flashbang. Throwing smoke. Grenade out. Throwing a flashbang.
हाय ही इज टेकिंग ऑफ 85 टैग ही इज टेकिंग ऑफ 6 ऑफ उठा कर पैसे
नीचे डाला है
Let's go, let's go. Over here. Molotov. Flashbang. Smoke. I am throwing a grenade.
अरे वेट बिहाइंड द वॉल वो अरे यार
I am throwing a flashbang.
बनाना दो एक हजार वो बॉयलर पुश करेगा वॉक बॉयल जा उधर अरे बॉम्ब ये जा एप्स के अंदर वॉक करके जा सेक्सी रे जा जल्दी जा टाइम नहीं है वो आवाज मत कर ज्यादा अब बॉयर है लाइब्रेरी वॉक डिफ्यूजर है नहीं फेक टाइम वेस्ट कर आ रहा जंपर है आ रहा है अरे सेक्सी
अरे भाई
ओ नाइस भाई ऐसे टाइम पर खा जा बार वॉल्यूम मत निकाला कर सिर्फ डिस्ट्रैक्ट किया कर
फ्लैश में मार दिया मैं उसको लग गया उसको
Let's go.
The bomb, don't drop the bomb, guys. Please pick the bomb.
Throwing fire. Fire. I am throwing smoke. I'm setting the bomb.
तूने प्लान कर
येलो एजा इधर से निकल
Throwing smoke.
तेरे में ही हूँ भाई
येलो पे बोल
अच्छा हीरो
Terrorists win.
खा जा वाली आप देख तेरी खा जा इधर
Go, go, go. Throwing fire. I am throwing a grenade.
एक ये बार
देख लिया
Smoke. Planting. Terrorists win. We must move.
उनमें दो बॉट्स
Fire.
अरे इन्हें आर्मर भी नहीं खरीद रहा हीरा 8,000 रुपये हीरा मेरे पास
I am throwing smoke. Grenade.
बॉल हीरा गो
I am planting the bomb.
वन चिक बनाना
Terrorists win. We must move. I am throwing a flashbang. Throwing fire. Grenade out.
क्या था भाई ये
भाई पीपी वर्जन से गांड मारी
क्या
Throwing smoke.
टैंक
सिटी
Fire. Flashbang. Let go.
हेमंत जा आगे हेमंत जाना अबे
Kira,
हेमंत
go,
जा
man.
राइट अबे
Kira is new player, just now started, I guess.
He's not giving it damage also, at least.
Armor भी नहीं खरीद रहा हूँ.
He's not he's not buying any armor, he's not giving it damage.
एक भी assist नहीं है उसको.
Throwing fire.
और वन
I am throwing a grenade. Fire. Terrorists win.
सेक्सी
How did they die?
और बस एक ही
Only
बंदा
one player. They all left.
बस एक बचे
And
सरेंडर कर दे भाई
he can't surrender, guys.
Go, go, go.
One should have to abandon.
ओके
Well, they kicked one guy, so whoa. Kill. Give me a गोली मार. तेरा sexy यार. अरे जल्दी खत्म करो, बारिश हो रही है.
Remember, this isn't the killing house anymore. This is real life. Throwing fire.
कीड़ा अब तो मार
Incendiary out.
तेरा बॉस को.
लेट कीड़ा
Whoa. This guy started.
Laying down smoke. Flashbang.
सोलर के पास थे. तो
अबे
बामुत में कर रहा था.
एम बॉट मार रहा है.
हाँ, बामुत में काम मार रहा था. मैं नहीं बोला कुछ भी. देखेंगे बोल के.
Grenade out.
He will.
One more bot kill.
अबे कितने को टैग दिया मैं जो इतना टैग कब दे दिया
कीरा का 1 किलो हुआ.
Congratulations, Kira, on your first. You have one assistance. Thank you for your assistance.
ले कीड़ा टेक इस गो कीड़ा गो
Incendiary.
Second.
Counter-terrorists win.
और मार्केट चल रहा है
Fast finishing.
I guess we got that mess sorted out.
पहले करता भोसड़ी का. मेरा रैंक. Let me rank open.
स्मैश को बुला. स्मैश को बुला रहे.
Let's roll.
Hello. Can't hear you, bro. Hey, bro, can't hear you. Smash, तेरा भी.
स्मैश नहीं आ रही आवाज. माइक रिकनेक्ट.
नहीं आ रही है स्मैश. नहीं आ रही. सच में नहीं आ रही है, मजाक नहीं कर. नहीं आ रही है, सच में मजाक नहीं कर. हाँ जा ठीक है जा.
GG. Gobi?
Okay.
Now is the time.
I guess you guys said it.
Affirmative.
Gobi.
Affirmative.
Aim for headshot.
Yes. Three agents left. Decoy. Planted.
Secure the place.
Came in last.
Segments, one check.
Terrorists win.
Six. नहीं आ रहा है स्मैश, अभी भी नहीं आ रहा. गेम बंद करके हेडफोन्स लगा के फिर चालू कर. मरने के बाद, अभी नहीं, मरने के बाद गेम को क्लोज करके हेडफोन्स निकाल के रिकनेक्ट करके फिर ज्वाइन कर.
Boost. In one boost.
Come. I am. Alright, boost. Come here fast.
Let's throw a grenade.
Came in.
आ रही है क्या आवाज? हाय
आई
अबे वो ऑफ कर रखा था माइक मैंने, सॉरी लॉल।
अब मेरी बात आ रही कि नहीं? एक मिनट।
आ रही।
नहीं आ रही, नहीं आ रही, नहीं आ रही।
हाँ माइक ऑफ रखा होगा। ऊपर ऊपर
ये कहाँ से क्या एक एक कौन देता है भाई सेकंड राउंड में उनको? कौन था इनुबड़ा?
अपने बंदे थे अपने।
अरे भाई अलग लेवल के बंदों के साथ मैच पड़ा है।
तुम लोगों का भाई होगा आराम से।
होने दे। तू ये आईडी से क्यों खेल रहा है? मार्क वाली से है ना?
उसका जीएनएम हो गया, इसका पीएनबी लगा था ना तो इसका रैंक निकला। आदमी
आगे देख, आ गया ब्लू, पीछे देख, आ गया एक।
पीछे
ए
इसकी माँ की
गोभी बॉम्ब गोभी।
वन हेवन वन टेट्रा, सॉरी 4 क्लिप्स ऑन जी।
Eco one more time.
हम नहीं के उसमें क्या चलिए।
इको
हाँ कमाल।
Let's call my brother.
All gobi.
Affirmative. You will all die. I'm throwing a flashback.
भाई साहब क्या था? हैक्स होते लगता है।
अरे कौन मारा स्मोक में भी?
एक्स दिखा।
वेंट प्लान चिक बी में ना।
अबे यार ये सब क्यों मिलता है मेरे को? नहीं आती मेरे को ये सब फालतू।
Cover me.
Give me the SMG man, give me the SMG please.
बी में
Alright. Nice.
वेंट रूम।
Checkers.
चेक गन उठा उसकी एक।
Yeah, who wants this AK?
Thank you, brother. There is one.
Yeah, sure.
Let's call my brother. Throw it block. Flashback.
Who wanted a boost? No one?
Smoke. Throw it block. Throw in the flashbang.
बी
Me.
कम भी
Set bomb. Yeah, that side. Go. Nice. Ooh.
Bro, I push, bro. Don't give me the bomb.
Let us go.
देखो सोमड़ी में मैंने बॉम्ब दिया।
गान में दूंगा।
Fuck man. क्या मजा तेरे क्लिप लेने में भाई। बी आ जाओ.
बी क्लियर.
कवर दे आया. नाइस.
स्मोक में चेक कर.
नहीं है. खाजा बॉल्स कर रहा है.
ऑफ था बेंचो. खाजा तेरे राइट से आया. हेवन जा रहा.
दे. ओके.
राइट.
सेक्सी.
खाजा सेक्सी बॉय.
हाथाक मुद्द दिया खाजा प्रो. तेरा वो ऑडियो बाद में सुनता हूँ भी. लॉल क्या लिखा तू. क्या सुनता हूँ. रुक कुछ तो गान किया रहेगा नूबड़े ने.
बोल मत. लेकिन गाने में ना अपना पूरा दर्द सुना दिया उसको.
हाय हाय इतना प्यारा आशिक है भाई.
We cannot be killed.
What the fuck?
Fog.
Oh shit. ओ देखा इसका ट्रिगर में.
What the fuck? This guy hack.
Fucker.
स्मैश मेटल्स देख उसके.
हाँ देखा. सर्विस मेडल है तो क्या हो गया भाई. हैक कर रहा है नूबड़ा. देखा मैं स्प्रे ट्रांसफर किया डील का डेडपूल पे मेरे पे.
अरे यही ना मारा सब.
नहीं ये नहीं वो टॉप फ्रैगर. डीगल का स्प्रे ट्रांसफर कैसे मस्त करता है सब करके. The fuck. Yeah, छोड़े ना.
Guys, I tell you, we
Hey,
can't
let's go.
पुश है. बॉम्बर ए जा मिड नहीं.
smoke.
फोकलिफ्ट के ऊपर एक रहता है.
अरे माधर चोदे. मत जाओ रे एक जगह सब लोग मरने.
क्या प्लान लेके खेलो रे. ऐसे नहीं जीतेगा अपन.
देखो उसका स्कोर होना कर रहा.
ये भाई
We must move.
उसको हर राउंड रिपोर्ट मारो.
Flashbang. The guy's armed.
अलग अलग क्यों जाना है तुमको बेचा. क्या बकचोदी. छोड़ हो गया.
क्वाड. हेवन.
अरे यार
अरे बेंचो क्या मार रहे सही में.
हैकिंग.
लैंडिंग बी मैन यू हैव टू कम.
गान में घुस के मार उसको. हाथ में राइफल है तेरे हाथ में पिस्टल है. पहले ही मार देता हेड पे एम करके.
स्मैश बॉम्ब एसएमजी ड्रॉप कर. मैकटन स्मैश.
This is our fight.
यूटिलिटीज लो ना बे. बूस्ट anyone?
I throw the flashbang.
जी भागा नाइस
अरे
जी ऊपर है जी
माधव
ऊपर है जी ऊपर
I fear no man.
हो गया वो
Last.
मार दिया लास्ट जी ऑफ मेरे एक ही उठे खा जा वहां पर पड़ी है 4 किट के पास मिड हाईवे के पास पड़ी
शूट या साला
टेक इज ऑफ नाउ
get his off man nice बड़ा साला
ऑफ किधर गए
पर्पल क्या था पर्पल
खा जा ऑफ दे के
No more talking. Now we fight.
भी निकलते हैं
पूछ दे मेरे को पूछ दे खा जा
No. Flashbang.
मिड पुश
पुश
गैराज गन
नाइस
50 tag. 50 tag, yes, 50 tag. हाँ, clear है ब्रांड। जा ये जा ब्लू, clear है।
I'm throwing the flashbang.
अरे fuck these guys city both city.
Throwing the flashbang.
स्मैश निकलना नहीं heaven वो नेट फेक
Fuck
पूरा
yeah.
पता है, he knows man, he knows his place.
दे दे ऑफ पास ऑफ येलो पास दो ऑफ
रुक मैं देता हूँ कोई बात नहीं यू वांट ऑफ पर्पल
अबे एक क्यों फेंक रहा है
एक है ना येलो की है ना एक है तेरी ऑफ उसकी एक है मैं भी पुश करता अकेला
Together we can do this.
कम भी बॉमर
Throwing smoke.
नाइस अबे
Be clear.
कुछ वेंट रूम है भाई पागल है क्या ऊपर है वेंट रूम
बाकी और B-man है।
Out. Smoke.
सीटी
चेक हेवन हो पेंट वन
चेक
I'm in position. Smoke.
वेंट
नाइस नाइस
I'm throwing a grenade.
इजी
Flashbang.
नाइस बहुत बढ़िया boost me
Let's go.
You wanna boost? Yeah.
Go, go, go.
Went one.
Two mid. एक बी मैन आ रहा है और एक हाईवे आ रहा है. CT and B main. Nice. Beautiful. Oh, shit. Sure. I'll boost you. मेरा लॉस
One side, orange side, big. Smoke in there, smoke in.
nice. Nice. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Inside, man. मर गया वो.
मिलता
Let's go mid.
Thanks for what the fuck?
क्या हो?
Shit. 2 मिनट कॉल पे हो रेडपुल में. रेडपुल कॉल पे हो मैं.
Mid.
Forward.
Can mid. Highway.
Aimbot is not. Aimbot है.
The fuck? 57 tap.
Let's go.
Come B.
Roger that.
Carry. They're moving towards A. Yeah.
Go.
फकिंग पोटैटो। ये कह रही तो यू करके टाइप कर रहा भड़वे।
कौन?
तो दो लोग मिड नहीं भाई।
He goes out.
अबे हट 98 टैग कर। अबे 901
बाई करो।
Lock and load.
Whoa, that FO behind. Behind you. खाजा रीलोड मत किया कि और खाजा 10 गोलियों को कौन रीलोड करता है। तेरा हर बार लास्ट मोड में ना क्लच के टाइम पर तेरा रीलोड में ही ग्राउंड जाता।
901
Let's go. Laying down smoke. Grenade out.
one top.
Throwing flashbang.
केरे भाड़वा
Throwing fire. Terrorists win.
खाजा तेरे को कमेंट क्या मेरे को कमेंट कर स्मैश मेरे को तू भी। आजा कमेंट दे मेरे
कर दिया
Grenade out.
अबे ये किधर भी घूम के मार रहा है। Oh no.
We are only halfway through 2018 and we've already seen a pretty diverse set of new trends in smartphones. Big steps forward in the camera department, the first phones with over 90% screen on the front, and a new emphasis on intricate color options. So today, we've got the budget phones, we've got the China phones, we've got the flagship phones. These are my top 10 favorite smartphones in 2018 so far. And a quick disclaimer, whilst I have used pretty much every major phone released this year, there are a couple of exceptions, notably the latest from LG and HTC. Just because those are two companies that aren't very good at dealing with YouTubers, and I think it's a mistake they're actually paying quite dearly for. Okay, let's get straight into it, and the first phone, number 10 on our list, is the Oppo R15 Pro. With a fantastic display, design and cameras, the R15 Pro is easily one of the best flagships under $600. The only sticking point for me is the mid-tier Snapdragon 660 chip, which is not slow, but we've now seen the same chip in phones costing less than half the price. Moving on, the Honor 10, and this is probably the best example of a company really pushing themselves to pursue the more colours back. At the equivalent of just over $400, it does fall into unusual territory. But for those of you who want a close to flagship experience in terms of performance and camera, and have no room for maneuver with budget, this is probably your best bet. Not to mention Honor have just dropped their new GPU Turbo feature, which I've been playing around with and has drastically improved frame rates when playing games. Number 8 is the Elephone U Pro, which I've gone ahead and given away both units I had, but I did spend 2 weeks with the phone, and couldn't help but be surprised at what the company has done here. A 6-inch curved AMOLED display, Snapdragon 660, and great battery life. It was released at $389, but given the amount of time that has passed, you should be able to find it even cheaper than that. But even at this price, I actually ran a social experiment where I handed the phone to people and told them how much it was, and let's just say most of them were pretty impressed.
Wow!
Okay, number 7 is actually the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. Whilst on one hand, the S9 Plus was disappointingly iterative in nature, and not hugely exciting compared to the more experimental phones this year, that doesn't change the fact that this is one of the most well-rounded devices you can buy right now. In terms of camera, display, design, and even audio, I can still safely recommend the S9 Plus to almost everyone who's looking for a flagship phone, and be rest assured that they'll be happy with it. Bear in mind that, as of the filming of this video, we are just not in the top list. And this is a phone that really defies its price. When you're spending just over $500, you're kind of expecting a phone where the company is just trying to cram as many flagship features in as possible, but with no real flair of its own. The 2S has flair in spades. It takes most of what we loved from the original mix, but has bumped up the chip to the latest Snapdragon 845, introduced a solid dual camera, and added some cool little software features, like full gesture control. Okay, top 5. The Oppo Find X, which is a phone that I decided within minutes of picking it up for the first time was one of the most beautiful bits of tech I own. From the huge 6.4-inch panoramic ARC AMOLED screen to the top-tier performance and the 25-megapixel front camera, this is a phone list is the lofty price tag, and it's not even unreasonably expensive. It's just a case that in mid-2018, in 4th place, we've got the Vivo Nex S, which is the phone I'm using on a day-to-day basis right now. It has a lot of what makes the Find X so great, but is nearly $100 cheaper. The in-display fingerprint scanner is not that reliable, and the dual cameras are only okay, but most of the time you're going to be too engrossed in the 6.6-inch Super AMOLED screen on the front. So using any other smartphone feels like a compromise, because their display will either be smaller, surrounded by a bezel, or with a notch. 3rd place, Xiaomi's brand new, completely different for a really fast, powerful core Android experience. Number 2 is Huawei P20 Pro. It is striking to look at, and the battery and camera are not just good, but incredible. In many cases, such as super low light, no other phone like it is from a different, but that down, their AI times managed to keep up quite well with the phone. What makes the Pro special, and so hasn't quite made the cut on this list. Number 1, and you probably will have got it by now just by process. The reason I say this is that everything has to be judged based on its price. And so, whilst the OnePlus 6 is not a better phone than the Oppo Find X or the Vivo Nex S, it is better value. $500 couldn't be spent better on any other smartphone right now. What is interesting about the OnePlus 6 is that it actually shares a lot of DNA with the Oppo R15 Pro that was featured at the beginning of the video. But for the same price, you get a faster chip, which helps not just in performance in games, but also in the camera, and a much cleaner software experience. Relative to other phones, even phones that are twice the price, the camera is the only main area where you make some sort of unambiguous compromise. And even then, it's not by much. Also, whilst there is a standard midnight black version, I really dig the red on this phone. It isn't subtle by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a lot of fun. Now, just bear in mind that this is a list based off my preferences. There are some things I can say about one phone that are unambiguously better than some things about another phone, but at the same time, things like color preference, things like the importance of wireless charging for me, all of that stuff is going to be on a scale.
Hi guys, it's HBYT and welcome back to a brand new video. Now today we're talking about the OnePlus 6 successor, the OnePlus 6T, because so many of you are asking for information, so that's exactly what we're going to get to today. We're talking design, release date, specs, everything.
I'm Dan Seifert with The Verge, and this is the new Xiaomi Mi Mix 2S, which doesn't look a whole lot different from last September's Mi Mix 2. Now, it shares many of the same features and overall design, but there's three new things to talk about here. It's got a new processor, it's got wireless charging, and it has an all-new camera system. It's got a 5.99-inch 18:9 LCD panel with Full HD Plus resolution. It's got Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 processor. You can get it in up to 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. It runs Xiaomi's MIUI software. It's up to version 9.0, and this one is based on Android 8. And it is available in China starting next week, and then it will be in Xiaomi's other global market. Now, there isn't a headphone jack here, but there wasn't a headphone jack on the last model either, so that's...
Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? And we're taking a look at the Xiaomi Mi Mix 2S. Now, I've spent a little bit of time with this phone already. It's been updated to final software, and Xiaomi themselves are off the heels of an IPO announcement. They're also going to be opening stores out in Europe, so it's an exciting time for them, and their most unique smartphone could be making it into more hands. A side-by-side comparison with the original Mi Mix 2 makes it pretty clear what's been added.
a new telephoto lens that adds zoom capabilities. But you still get ceramic backings here, which is Xiaomi's forte, and it still makes this phone look awesome even if it is ultimately familiar. One thing we really like, however, is that included in the box is this wonderful case. It's a plastic case that is very form-fitting, and when you have it on the phone, you still get very tactile feedback from the buttons over on the side. It's still the volume rocker and the power button, nothing new there with the fingerprint reader on the back. The design is mostly the same, which means that on the bottom you get a little bit more bezel underneath the screen, and yes, the front-facing camera is still in that area. Underneath that, you have a single bottom-mounted firing speaker and a USB-C port that requires an adapter if you want a headphone jack. This is designed at Xiaomi's best, and it keeps this phone, which is very familiar, still exciting. It's really hard not to like what Xiaomi's done here. 6-inch 18:9 display is still of a full HD plus resolution, which for the most part is okay because MIUI has been updated so that it has a tighter use of space. Colors from this panel do look a little bit muted when you compare it to more saturated displays out there, but it hardly took away from any of my experiences. I do wish that the display got just a little bit brighter though. This is an IPS panel, and when the sun is really bearing down on it and I go to crank the brightness all the way to 100%, I felt like it could get a little bit brighter and help me out so that things were more legible. Now the MIUI still crowdsources many of its features from the forum.
Hey, what's up guys? Xiaomi is known for bringing flagship phones at much lower prices than its competitors. In its latest release, the Mi 8 has just come out, but only in China for now. Should you get it when it releases worldwide? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and this is a Xiaomi Mi 8 review. What we have here today is the model for the Chinese market. While it's sort of unlikely, some aspects of its performance may change in future international releases. Instead of a Mi 7, Xiaomi has released a Mi 8 for this year's 8th anniversary, and just like last year, it's made from shiny glass, Gorilla Glass 5 to be exact. Around the edges is a curved aluminum frame. It's rounded and comfortable to hold, though there is no sharp edge to easily grab onto. Ours came bundled with a soft plastic case which makes it easier to grip and handle. You'll have to be careful around water. Though the Mi 8 is solid, there is no IP-rated water or dust protection just like last year's Mi 6. One defining feature of this year's model is the larger screen, which is now AMOLED instead of IPS LCD. It's 6.21 inches in 1080p resolution, with a tall 18.7:9 aspect ratio. There's even a trendy notch cut out at the top to make room for extra screen space. The notch is kind of wide. If you want, you can hide it with a black strip. The Mi 8's screen is excellent. Content looks sharp at 400 ppi, and you have the deep blacks typical of an AMOLED. Brightness is great too, maxing at 458 nits. If you use auto brightness mode, you can go even higher, up to 624 nits. You won't have any problem using this phone in bright sun. Another benefit of the AMOLED screen is the always-on display, so you can get time and notifications at a glance. You can turn the always-on display off if you want to save power. Since there's a notification LED, you'll never be left wondering when to check your phone. And before you ask, it's only white in color. Moving over to the back, you can see the vertical dual camera setup on the left, and the rear-mounted fingerprint reader. I really like this reader. It's perfectly placed for me to reach, and a bit recessed so it's easy. to find. Plus, it's always on and lightning fast to wake up the phone. Another option is infrared face recognition for face unlock. It's super convenient and quick, and won't unlock your phone if your eyes are closed, and it works in the dark too. But although there is an infrared camera on the front, there is no IR blaster to control appliances with, which was a convenient feature of the Mi 6. Storage-wise, there are models with 64, 128, or 256 gigs of internal memory. There is no microSD slot though, so this isn't expandable.
The Xiaomi Mi 8, one of the most anticipated flagships of 2018, versus the Speed Demon, the OnePlus 6. Which one of these two is the better phone? Should you wait for the Mi 8 or pull the trigger on the OnePlus 6 right now? These are the questions we aim to answer in this video. So, hey guys, Ash here from C4D Tech, card to our monthly giveaway, link in the description, and of course, hit that bell icon down there. I know you want to. A sandwich design. The difference is you have the vertical dual camera setup to the side on the Mi 8, while on the OnePlus it's more centrally placed. Both have a rear fingerprint scanner. Now while these curved glass backs do look really beautiful, they both have the same fatal flaw. They're incredibly slippery and are prone to picking up smudges and fingerprints. That's why we have our OnePlus 6 wrapped in a D-brand skin. Their high-quality, precision-cut skins give you the grip you need to confidently carry your phone around without being afraid of dropping it, and their customization options, well, you can check them out for yourselves. D-Brand's a sponsor for this video, and I'll leave a link to them in the description below, so do check them out. Of course, we don't really play favorites over design choices here at C4D Tech, so personal choices and whatnot, we'll let you guys decide on which is the better design. Here's a poll. Let us know which one you like best. Now, if you thought that the build of both these phones was similar, wait till we turn them around. Both the Mi 8 and the OnePlus 6 sport AMOLED panels. They both have a notch at top and the same Full HD Plus resolution. They are also almost similar in size, 6.28 inches on the OnePlus 6 versus 6.21 inches on the Mi 8. One thing though that will immediately stand out is that the notch on the Mi 8 is a fair bit wider than the one on the OnePlus 6. Of course, Xiaomi didn't really have much of a choice since they needed to also add an IR sensor into this notch. Now, coming back to the displays themselves, both of them are pretty good AMOLED panels. We have punchy colors, inky blacks, decent viewing angles, and even under bright sunlight, these two devices remain legible. In fact, they are so similar in this aspect that it's difficult to suggest one from the other. From browsing social media to consuming media, you'll have a satisfying experience on either display, so the display is not going to be a deciding factor here. So we couldn't separate them on display and design. Maybe we'll have better luck with the internals. Not so fast. Both of them sport the same top-of-the-line flagship Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chip. With the current gen flagship SoC inside, performance really isn't an issue for either of these two phones. From the most demanding apps to even intense games, the 845, the Adreno 630, they keep everything running smoothly. And even if you are a heavy user who keeps jumping between apps and multitasking, there's ample amounts of RAM on both these phones. So talking about that, we get 6 and 8 gig options, as well as 64, 128 and 256 gig storage options. So they're both top of the line when it comes to performance. How about battery life? The Mi 8 has a 3400 mAh battery, 100 mAh more than the OnePlus 6. Quite negligible on paper, but in practice the Mi 8 seemed to last me a tad longer than the OnePlus 6. Then again, the OnePlus 6 does have dash charging, so I guess that again kinda evens out. Maybe software would help separate the two. Well, we have MIUI 9.5 running on top of Android 8.1 Oreo on the Mi 8, and of course it's the stockish Oxygen OS on the OnePlus 6, again on Android 8.1. Now, despite being far from stock, MIUI is really fast and slick, and I know quite a lot of you guys are fans of it, so I'm not gonna go into the whole stock versus MIUI debate right now. Instead, here's a poll, let your opinion be heard. Of course, once we are in software, we're going to talk about the special features, right? We have face unlock as well as gesture-based navigation on both these phones. The Mi 8 though has a leg up here. We get an IR sensor, so under low light, the facial recognition works better on the Mi 8. The OnePlus 6, well, hits right back with a dedicated alert slider as well as day-to-day water resistance. So we're almost at the end of this comparison, and even now, both these phones are almost on par.
On the cameras then, first off, the hardware, we've got dual 12 megapixel cameras on the back of the Mi 8. The primary comes with an f1.8 aperture lens and a 1 by 2.55 inch sensor with large 1.4 micron sized pixels, along with support for 4-axis OIS. The secondary shooter has a f2.4 telephoto lens for optical zoom. On the OnePlus 6 side of things, we've got a 16 megapixel f1.7 primary snapper. It's a 1 by 2.6 inch sensor with 1.22 micron sized pixels. This again has OIS. The secondary f1.7 20 megapixel camera has 1 micron sized pixels. Now let's see the shooters in action. First up, daylight shots. Both these cameras perform excellently. We have a lot of detail, the colors are punchy, and these pictures turned out to be great. Now both these phones have auto HDR, so we took all these pictures with the feature turned on, and the dynamic range was pretty good across the board on both phones. If I had to nitpick though, I'd say the OnePlus 6 edges ahead very slightly on daylight shots. Only if you zoom in though. Now how about low light? Well, what you immediately notice is that the pictures taken by the Mi 8 look brighter most of the time. Zoom in and you can see that the pictures taken by the OnePlus 6 are slightly less grainy, less noise, and they have better detail. Coming to portrait mode shots, both of them do fairly well when it comes to edge reduction. Even the selfie portraits looked pretty good on both. One thing I felt like I had to mention is that the Mi 8 kind of uses the telephoto lens to get the portrait, so it's a lot more zoomed in with a portrait on the rear camera. Now when it comes to normal selfies, both of these phones do quite well. The 20 megapixel selfie shooter on the Mi 8 and the 16 megapixel one on the OnePlus 6 end up taking some really good looking shots even under non-ideal lighting conditions. Finally, let's talk video. Both these phones are capable of 4K video, but we only have 4K 60 FPS on the OnePlus, and that gives it an edge. Along with that, we also have EIS plus OIS for super stable footage on the OnePlus 6, while the Mi 8 has to rely just on hardware level OIS. Oh, and OnePlus also has a super slow-mo 480 FPS option, something that the Mi 8 lacks. So if cameras are your priority, then the OnePlus 6 is definitely the better pick. So now, let's move on to the pricing. Guys, we don't have any official pricing or release date for the Mi 8 in India, but based on the Chinese pricing and Xiaomi's track record, we'd expect it to slot in around the 30 to 33K mark. That's Poco F1, a smartphone that's shaking up the Asian market with its crazy $300 price tag and high-end specs. People are calling this phone the true flagship killer. Well, this is the OnePlus 6, a phone that also has high-end specs, but it's accessible worldwide and has a passionate community who truly believes in the product. It's a couple $100 more, but I think it offers a lot more value. The Poco F1 is simple, and it may not sport an all-glass or aluminum design, but its polycarbonate back and slightly thicker build makes this phone super comfortable to hold, and less likely to shatter when dropped. It's a bit thicker than the OnePlus 6, but that means there's more phone to love. Like, honestly, why do manufacturers put glass on their phones, especially when they don't add wireless charging? I agree. Not having wireless charging for a phone that has a glass back is a bit annoying. But, I mean, just look how classy this phone looks. I mean, this red, it's absolutely gorgeous. The Poco Loco has a notch the size of the Grand Canyon and a chin that's larger than Jay Leno's. Like, look at the little details, metal buttons, and alert slider to help mute your conversations in a pinch. These are the things that matter. Relic, please, let's do a chop test then, smartass. I guarantee that the OnePlus 6 will end up looking like Britney Spears with no makeup on. Let's talk display. This one is 6.28 inches, AMOLED, has better color accuracy, gets brighter than the Poco F1, and has beautiful deep blacks. I'd rather watch and consume content on this device over the F1. Please, that display is not that much better or bigger. The F1 is 6.18 inches, making it ever so slightly smaller. And you're right, the OnePlus 6 has deep blacks and a brighter screen, but the LCD panel offers better whites and much sharper text since it's not using a pentile matrix. I'll give the OnePlus 6 the lead with the display, but when it comes to sound, the Poco F1 has stereo speakers and a headphone jack, which actually sound pretty great. And 6 or 8 gigabyte RAM variants, but what really makes this phone different is the fact that Xiaomi stuffed a larger heat pipe inside here to keep this phone liquid cooled. I mean, that's something you usually see on gaming phones or on the Galaxy Note 9, which is a $1,000 smartphone. Now, MIUI is pretty clean theme with its own unique character, adding variety compared to phones that use just stock Android. Liquid cooled sounds gimmicky, but the OnePlus 6 has the exact same specs. Well, except a micro SD card slot. But it does have NFC, which means I can pay for stuff using my phone. Something that the Poco F1 fails to include. Now, you can hate on stock Android all you want, but the crappier the camera, but not in this case. The Poco F1 has dual cameras, one 12-megapixel sensor with an aperture of f1.9, and a second one with a 5-megapixel sensor to help with depth information. This allows for things like portrait mode. There's no OIS for video, but EIS does a pretty good job. 12 megapixels, that's it? The OnePlus 6 has a 16-megapixel lens with a higher aperture of f1.7 and a second lens that's 20-megapixel sensor. It too helps with depth information, but also contributes to details in order to provide better shots. Look, we already did an entire camera shootout comparing both phones. The link is below if the viewers want to check it out for themselves. Now, when it comes to battery life, the Poco F1 has a huge to a damn quick getting for features and specs that passionate community, great hardware, and all the small refinements more expensive phones have. Sure, it's $200 more than the Poco phone, but
दोस्तों अगर आपको भी पसंद आया था द बेस्ट फ्लैगशिप किलर टिप्स का ही सो दिस इज होस्ट दिए सो सबसे पहले इस फोन के डिटेल एनालिटिक्स के पहले आप जरा इस पिक्चर को चेक कर लीजिए। ये बेसिकली एक रशियन साइट है जहां पे नए एंड अपकमिंग फोन्स लिस्टेड किए जाते हैं बिफोर द लॉन्च एंड यहां पे आप देख सकते हैं OnePlus का एक न्यू मॉडल नेम दिस इज द A6013 एंड यही है द न्यू अपकमिंग OnePlus 6T। प्राइसिंग की अगर हम बात करें सो ये डिवाइस यूएस में लॉन्च होगा लगभग $550 के आसपास एंड दैट विल बी द एक्चुअल रिटेल वैल्यू क्योंकि इसको 100% जेन्युइनली कंफर्म किया गया है फ्रॉम द सीईओ ऑफ OnePlus। अभी हम लोग अगर बात करें OnePlus 6 के रिटेल वैल्यू के बारे में सो ये डिवाइस यूएस में लॉन्च हुआ था लगभग $530 के आसपास एंड यहाँ पे आपको एक $20 का इंक्रीजमेंट देखने को मिल जाएगा। एंड नाउ द थिंग इज अगर हम लोग $20 एक्स्ट्रा पे कर रहे हैं तो हमको इन $20 में एक्स्ट्रा क्या क्या फीचर्स देखने को मिल जाएगा। चलिए इन चीजों को देख लेते हैं। फर्स्टली यू विल गेट अ मैसिव अपग्रेड इन द डिजाइन एंड लुक्स। OnePlus 6 में आपको देखने को मिल जाता था एक कूल एंड ब्यूटीफुल नॉच कटआउट, एंड ये डेफिनेटली बाकी सारे
But this morning, a particularly telling photo was leaked. Now, this Pixel 3 XL is looking to have an incredibly large notch if we're not being trolled by Google. But this phone has a very, very small notch, and I love the way this thing looks. This is actually very similar in design aesthetic to two Oppo phones, the Oppo R17 and the Oppo F9, both of them with that kind of water drop notch shape. And it kind of makes sense because Oppo and OnePlus up and just have audio coming out from there. Same thing with the ambient sensors of an in-display or under-display fingerprint sensor. So this is technology that we've seen in fingerprint sensors that I've seen haven't been super fast. Like the fingerprint sensor on the OnePlus 6 or any of the OnePlus phones are really snappy. The in-display Another day, another notch of the Essential phone. Maybe even a little prettier than the Essential phone. That's right, I said pretty. And of course, the whole goal of this is like every other notch to increase the screen to body ratio while maintaining a position for the forward-facing camera. I actually, at first glance, I kind of like this implementation. It's reminiscent of, you remember the movie Never-Ending Story, The Princess? She has the crown that kind of comes down in the center. Now this type of notch, I think it's the first time I've seen it outside of the Essential phone. It's going to start popping up on more devices. I think it's kind of a nice compromise. If we're going to have a notch, let's make it as small as possible. This is a kind of mid-range device. The price is going to be somewhere around $300 when adjusted for the US dollar. This one is 6 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of storage. If I turn the camera's 16 plus 2 megapixels and then 25 megapixels in the front. It's a 6.3-inch display, LCD display, no OLED love at this price point. 3,500 milliamp hour battery with VOOC fast charge, which they claim can give you like 75% battery life in about half an hour. There's no Snapdragon in here. The processor is from MediaTek, so keep that in mind. This one also happens to be made in India. They've included a case. Ooh, that's a really different color setup there. Whoa, check that out. Whoa, magenta to red. That is different. Fingerprint scanner is where I like it, on the back here. The SIM card tray, which I believe is dual. Whoa, okay. Dual SIM and storage. 2 SIMs and storage all at once. Oh, that's really weird. It's still micro USB. I'm going to boot this up. I think this type of layout should be adopted by other manufacturers. Yes, you have to have a forward-facing camera. The motorized stuff is a little iffy. People are wondering if it's going to be reliable. This might be a kind of compromise where we have a notch, but it's not very big. We have the USB cable. You can see it has the VOOC identifier on there. A headset reminiscent of some other brand of headset. I'm hoping this is a speedy fingerprint scanner. I'll put it in the mid-range for speed. It's not the fastest I've ever tried, but it's quick. It's quick enough, that's for sure. Okay, it has face unlock as well. We can give that a shot. Boom. 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 It's pretty nice. Is it as secure as some of the other face unlock technologies? Probably not. It's just a forward-facing camera as opposed to infrared or something like that. This gives us our first glimpse at the display. It is LCD, as I mentioned. Very minimal. In fact, if you compare this to like an iPhone 10 or something, this is almost non-existent. Can I get an iPhone 10, in fact? So you tell me which one you would prefer having. The notch on the iPhone has a lot more tech built in, and the face unlock should be more secure because of that. It's nice to see something a little bit different, even if it doesn't.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to TechBeans and welcome to this trip similarly. And today, we're gonna find out which one of these guys have the best battery life. And also, we're gonna find out which one of these guys have the fastest charging speed. The Oppo F9 has the VOOC fast charging, the Pocophone F1 has Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0, and the Honor Play has Huawei Quick Charging. I don't know what they call it, but they say it's fast. But before we start guys, don't forget my giveaways right here, the Oppo F9 and the Pocophone F1. And all you need to do to win this is subscribe just below for more details about my giveaway. No! Yep, that's me singing. Cut. No! Cheer. Brought to you by Cherry Mobile. I'm just kidding. Alright, let's start.
favorite mouse? No idea what you're talking about. What's up guys, I'm Random Frank P, and today we're going to be checking out the brand new 2018 release of the Logitech G502 Hero. This is an updated version of one of Logitech's most popular mouse, and one of my personal favorite mice of all time, the G502. So today in this video we're going to talk about what's new, and what are some of the additions to this 2018 version, and kind of tie it into the current state of the G502 4 years after its initial release. This video is sponsored by Unbox. By Proteus Core and the Proteus Spectrum. And that's great, because you know the expression, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I feel personally the G502 has always been the most comfortable mouse for me, so I'm happy the form factor didn't change. Now with that being said, there are 3 differences in the G502 Hero that are going to separate it from its past releases. And first off is going to be that brand new Hero sensor in this mouse. The new optical Hero sensor goes from 10,000 dpi all the way up to the 16,000 dpi mark. Now, are a lot of people going to be able to take advantage of that? No, not really, but you look at a lot of the companies out there that are putting out gaming mice, and 16,000 is kind of like the new standard, so this kind of re-release is going to kind of refresh that and hit the 16,000 mark like most companies are putting out. This is an improvement over the previous G502 sensor, which was the Pixar PMW 3366, I believe, which only went up to 12,000. For me, personally, I usually keep my DPI around like 2,200 or so. That's what I'm most comfortable with. So I'm definitely not going to be reaching up to those higher marks anytime soon. The second change is going to come along with the cable here. This is a redesigned, thinner braided cable, which is going to aim to prevent any sort of kinking in the cables, which did occur. And as you can see right here on my previous G502 mice, on both of them, where I would kind of route it throughout my desk, there's a major kink going on here. You can see the braided part starting to fall along, and the cable here is like permanently bent. So with the thinner version of this new cable on this mouse, this is going to be aimed to hopefully prevent that. Can't give you guys an update now because this occurred over like 3 to 6 months, that kink. So hopefully that's true. And the third improvement, definitely pretty subtle. They just updated their logo on here. So you have their current branding on the mouse. So now that we have those 3 changes out of the way, let's just talk about the mouse itself in general, in case you're interested in picking it up and you want to find out more about it. First off, this comes in at 125 grams, which is pretty light for a mouse, I think. But it also comes with these modular weights that you can put in the bottom of it. And the sections underneath the mouse are designed so you can put those weights in certain areas if you want a heavier mouse on the bottom or on the front or on the sides. It gives you the real control here, which is good. So by itself, 125 grams, then all those weights together, if you put them all in at once, you're going to add an additional 18 grams, with each little weight being 3.6 grams. In terms of its design, it is pretty angular, kind of a more aggressive-looking gamer mouse. It comes in at 5.17 inches long by 2.69 inches wide, and sits at 1.62 inches tall. And the one thing about gaming mice, which is different from all other gaming peripherals, is this really comes down to your specific preference in what you look for in a mouse. So for example, with the size of this, I think for me, it feels great. I have 8-inch hands from the tip of my fingertip down to the bottom of my palm. So for my fingertip grip, which I use while I'm gaming, it just feels perfect for me. Like, it feels right at home. I don't cramp up or anything. And, if you have larger hands or smaller hands, obviously, finding a mouse that is the right size and the right weight is going to be best for you. And when I found out, like 4 years ago, before I was even doing YouTube, that this was released, I went down to my local Best Buy, tried it out, and then right from that moment, fell in love with it, and it just feels great in my hand. I'm so used to it. So a big thing is going to be, how a mouse is designed and how it feels for you. On both these sides of the mice, there are these rubber textures where your thumb and your pinky is going to kind of sit, and it does have this sort of tessellated texture embedded into it for a enhanced grip. And on the G502, we have 11 programmable buttons. I'll do a sound test now so you can, check it out. Now with their, quote, sniper button, that's pretty much going to be like where this button is right here, where your thumb's going to sit. This is going to lower your DPI to the lowest setting that you set it at inside the software. And I love this because no matter what game you're playing, if you are a sniper, you're playing as a sniper, just getting that really quick adjustment if you're like in a high intensity situation, you hit that, it'll bring it all the way down to the 200 DPI I have it set at, which is going to let me really narrow in and get a more precise shot. And I've always used that when I'm sniping, so people might not use that. You can set that to be something else if you like. but it's just another reason for me why I always go to this mouse when I'm gaming. So when I plugged it into my PC and started gaming, did I notice any changes? Not necessarily, mainly because I set the DPI from my previous mice to be the same as here, and just from muscle memory over the years of using a mouse like this, I didn't notice any changes, which is good. Just the main difference here being that upgraded hero sensor going to 16,000 DPI. Now with that said, with this optical mouse, with the previous versions, if you were using this on a white surface, the mouse would not track at all. But I noticed now using this on a white desk or on a notebook, it still tracks. So if you're someone who has a white mouse pad, or you just have a white desktop with no mouse pad, it's going to work fine for you. Before we wrap this up, before I get to my plea to Logitech, we do have an enhanced sort of software now coming with the G-Hub, which just got released alongside the mouse. This is where you can go in and change all your DPI settings. You're very familiar with, mice software, so odds are nothing new to you.